Good evening. Welcome to the February 9th, 2016 Pequannock Township Council meeting. Mark?
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions that will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen. Roll call.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mayor Cole is absent. Ms. Winterfield?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Vanderhoff?
Okay, next on the agenda is presentations. We have Eagle Scout presentations, and I ask the council to join me. Eagle Scouts come up. The town's been very blessed over the years with many Eagle Scout projects. I would probably say we have a higher percentage than most towns. And I've been here for 12 years, and every year there's a growing number of Eagle Scout projects, and we thank you for all the work that you do. I'll read the first one. Whereas for more than 100 years, the Boy Scouts of America have helped mold the future leaders of this country by combining educational activities and lifelong values with fun, and whereas the involvement of young men in the Boy Scouts of America is of great importance to our community and our country, and whereas the rank of Eagle Scout is the highest honor a scout can attain in the Boy Scouts of America, and whereas Pequannock Township resident Jane Lorenz has earned the required 21 merit badges and completed a service project for the benefit of the community by building a Gaga pit with benches at the Boys and Girls Club. Whereas James was presented the Eagle Scout Award and Court of Honor on January 16, 2016. Whereas James' scouting activities and achievements have brought him honor to himself, his family, and community. Now therefore, on behalf of the Township of Pequannock, its residents, Mayor David Cole, and the members of the Township Council, hereby recommends the achievements of Jane Lorenz and attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. Congratulations.
It's a game that's kind of like dodgeball, but it's played on the ground and you hit the ball and it kind of just bounces around, and if it hits you below the knee, you're out. And then they had played it there for a while using benches inside, and then it works a lot better outside.
Congratulations. Do you want me to read the next one? All right, I'm going to read Scott's. Okay. Whereas for more than 100 years, the Boy Scouts of America has helped to mold the future leaders of this country by combining educational activities and lifelong values with fun. And whereas the involvement of young men in the Boy Scouts of America is of great importance to our community and our country. And whereas the rank of Eagle Scout is the highest honor a scout can attain in the Boy Scouts of America. And whereas Pequannock Township resident Scott Seary has earned the required 21 merit badges and completed a service project for the benefit of the communities by refurbishing the flagpole at the Boys and Girls Club, as well as installing new lighting, landscaping, and a retaining wall. And whereas Scott was presented with the Eagle Scout Award at a Court of Honor on January 16, 2016. And whereas Scott's scouting activities and achievements have brought honor to himself, his family, and his community. Now therefore, on behalf of the Township of Pequannock and its residents, Mayor David Cole and the members of the Township Council hereby recognize the achievement of Scott Siri in attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. So congratulations, Scott. Do you want to tell us anything about your project?
Oh, well, I've been going to the Boys and Girls Club for a long time now, and I see it every week, so, you know.
It needed work.
It needs work. Very much
Well,
so.
good job.
Okay, I'm gonna do Vincent's, but before I do Vincent, I do Vincent. Terranino?
Termania.
That's close, right? I'll try to get it right.
Don't hold it against me.
Don't hold it against me.
One person had it right once.
Okay. Whereas for more than 100 years, the Boy Scouts of America has helped mold the future leaders of this country by combining educational activities and lifelong values with fun. And whereas the involvement of young men in the Boy Scouts of America is of great importance to our community and to our country. Whereas the rank of Eagle Scout is the highest honor a Scout can attain in the Boy Scouts of America. And whereas Pequannock Township resident Vincent Terranino, has earned the required 21 merit badges and completed a service project for the benefit of the community by building handicap accessible planter boxes at the community garden. I watched you do that. My house is right across from it. Whereas Vincent has presented with the Eagle Scout Award at a Court of Honor on January 16, 2016, and whereas Vincent's scouting activities and achievements have brought honor to himself, his family, and his community. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Township of Pequannock and its residents, Mayor David Cole and the members of the Township Council hereby recognize the achievements of Vincent Terranino in achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. Congratulations. I gotta say, I watched you work hard over there. It was amazing how hard you kept working over there. Because, my house is the White House right across there. I was like, wow, that guy's working like crazy. So that was a lot of work. So that was a great project.
I was lucky to have a lot of people who help volunteer.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, yes. Okay, Ryan, you're mine. Whereas for more than 100 years, the Boy Scouts of America has helped mold the future leaders of this country by combining the educational activities and lifelong values with fun. Whereas the involvement of young men in Boy Scouts of America is of great importance to our community and to our country. Whereas the rank of Eagle Scout is the highest honor a Scout can attain in the Boy Scouts of America. Whereas Pequannock Township resident Ryan Daniel has earned the required 21 merit badges and completed a service project for the benefit of the community by relocating and replacing the flagpole at Greenview Park, including the replacement of lighting and landscaping. And that looks really nice. I saw that at the last hoedown. That's really beautiful. Ryan was presented with the Eagle Scout Award at the Court of Honor on January 16, 2016, whereas Ryan's scouting activities and achievements have brought honor to himself, his family, and community. Now and therefore, on behalf of the Township of Pequannock and its residents, Mayor David Cole, and members of the Township Council, hereby recognize the achievement of Ryan Daniel in attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. Congratulations.
Thank you, and the township really appreciates all the projects that you do. It's a great achievement that you do, and getting to this rank is a zero for a few. Congratulations.
Thank you. Your photo. I'm a little one.
I see you guys, so stand ahead. There you go.
There you go.
I'm sure you've got one.
Next on the agenda is report from volunteers.
How are you?
Tom Andrea, 6 Elm Road, Chairman of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. At our meeting Monday, first Monday at the beginning of the month, Steve Connolly from the Skateboard Ad Hoc Committee came and gave a presentation to us about various locations the skate park committee was looking at to build a skateboard park in town. And he did an excellent job with a PowerPoint presentation, and we went through these 3 locations. 2 were in the PV Park area, 1 was in Washington Park, and through discussion with the Parks and Rec Advisory Board members, and we had a lot of great public participation at that meeting too. We had a lot of important people from the town to give us input there too. It seemed like the only logical choice was the Washington Park location. We were told by Ryan Hurd that there were some issues with the PV Park location and flooding, where we might have problems putting in that large amount of impervious cement for the skateboard park there. But at the Washington Park location, he felt that that was a good location and we wouldn't have the same kind of problems. So we voted on it, and with all the members there, it was unanimously decided that we recommend to the council that for the skateboard park here in town, the location we're recommending is the one at Washington Park. I have a nice color map. I didn't print 50 of them, but if you want, you can pass them down. I'll pass it to you first, Mayor, just so you know where we're. So it's just 1 page. Yeah, and that's just the location.
That's a nice glossy print there, huh?
I did. Steve did the graphic. I just.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
I can't take too much credit.
This is the same spot we talked about in the meeting, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. And if anybody wants from the public to see it, they're more than welcome to. Okay, Steve, do you want to say anything? I'll turn it over to Steve now from the Skateboard Ad Hoc Committee. Thank you.
I have an extra copy of that. Just leave it on the table. It's not as glossy. First, before I begin, I just want to say, we got together a lot of times, a lot of Saturday mornings, and I just wanted to personally thank Councilman Phelan and the town manager, David Holberg, for their dedication and help. They were very helpful in the process. What's that? And we focused on a lot of different locations, and there were 6 key elements that we wanted to cover. Visibility, how is it situated for law enforcement and parental oversight? Is the site surrounded by other active areas? Accessibility, how centralized is the site in town? Not like far out in any outskirt, something that the kids could come to. Design canvas, can we put a skateboard part there? Barriers to shovel ready, site conflict with future plans for the space, amenities and infrastructure. do they have existing parking, restrooms, water fountain? Is it, within walking distance? And also impact to surrounding environment. How does that conflict with activities or affect any natural resources? And with that particular element, we did have a really good meeting, Parks and Rec, and Ryan, the head of the flood committee, did suggest that that PV Park location is in a flood zone, like entirely, so it wouldn't work. So yes, we're left with Washington Park. And when we first came to the town council to talk about this, the main thing was let's find the location. So we did that. So now we need to move forward. So we're asking town council, can we allocate that space there at Washington Park? And can we also allocate at least the cost for design? There's 3 estimates that we gave David Holberg and Richard Phelan. I think Kathy also has a copy. So there's 3 estimates. They're all around the same price. And if we could at least get that going, we could start fundraising. We could actually start, get everything in motion, because we have the paperwork ready to do a fiscal sponsorship through Solid Foundation to start fundraising. And with a fiscal sponsorship, we will work under them as a nonprofit. So really those are the 2 things. The other thing was what I spoke to David earlier about. But that's to do with the grant. We had a little hitch, so we're trying to find a place for that. So with that, that's where we are.
Okay, we're going into our budget meeting starting on Thursday, so you gotta give us like a week, or 2 weeks, I'm sorry, just to kind of go through the budget and so forth to get a better feel for what's going on. As I said to you earlier, the right step is to allocate money towards the design part of it, but we do have to sit down and look at the budget.
I knew you were due. I knew you were in that process too. So, and I didn't think I'd get an answer tonight.
Right.
But
at least 2 weeks, and then
yeah.
we could have a better feel, because one of our main functions at being on town council is to make sure that we spend our money correctly.
Sure. Now, what about location? Washington Park.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Comes from
How
Park
do
and
you
Rec.
get?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
I mean, I think it could work. I mean, it's a little out of the way, but not, if you put it in the front there, I think that's pretty visible.
One really good, a really good element about it, and PV Park had the same thing, is it'll be right off of the bike path.
Right.
So people from, or
What bike path
Right,
is
yeah,
that?
well, I'm fast.
well, hey, I'll build it. No, I know we're trying to get that done, and there's some volunteers in town that are doing a lot of work on that, and so I know that's.
Will probably be on skateboard before, like that.
Well, I'm just looking. I mean, really, in reality, we're not looking at this as something that is for now. We want to have something that's successful in the
right.
future, and I
it
mean that's the
remains
real.
successful in the future.
Yes. Well, yeah.
You can
In the
ride your
near
bike there
future.
now.
You can ride, right, you just not
We
take the
rode
bike
them there,
path.
Councilman
Yeah.
Phelan.
Joe Wells will tell us some more about the bike path.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, that was one as far as accessibility. It's also, if you look at the Parks and Rec master plan, it's pretty much in the middle of the most populated area of the town. So as far as densely populated, so with kids, it's
And I don't think location's the problem, as Rich said,
Yeah.
starting the budget process.
okay.
You're looking usually June approval of the budget, 4 months available, so.
Okay. Great.
But in the next couple of weeks, we should have a good idea where it stands.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Thanks,
Steve,
Steve.
before you sit down, do you?
Oh, I didn't say my address. 44 Duncan Avenue.
No, that's
I always forget.
The bid and the bid package, the design and bid package, did you have any desires or thoughts about which company after we had our meeting?
I mean, we have some in mind.
Okay.
They're all the same price. I mean, there's one that we like that's local. I mean, we haven't extensively discussed it at this point, But, I mean, the other one we like to, American Ram Company, with they're the ones that involve a lot of landscaping in the design, and that's something we really want to do. I mean, I think all of them can do that, so, we're not, extremely picky over that. I mean, and they work with you a lot when it comes to the design. It's not like they give that to you. And if you look at the packet, there's like a lot of involvement with the public, with the owners of the company, with the designers, with town council, Parks and Rec, so everyone will be involved.
Township level, there's a process we go through
Yeah, I
to
know.
hire someone, we just can't pick one. It's-
We explained
there's a
that to
process.
Steve already.
Yeah.
It's government, man, you know?
Yeah, no, I understand that.
And it moves slowly.
We're
So,
learning a lot.
yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that's really in your court, but if
Yeah.
I could give you names of the ones that we like, so if you want that.
Well, I think the committee should get back together and that would be the next
Do you have a next meeting
discussion.
scheduled?
Right.
Well, we're waiting for this, and then
Okay,
we need something to put on the agenda, which would be that.
right.
There you go, now you have something
Yeah.
for the agenda.
So I'll bother you guys another Saturday morning, and another,
Send an email.
yeah, well, okay.
Nope, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Steve.
Thank you.
Any other volunteers? Joe?
Joe Wells, 5 Washington Street. First, I guess for the timing, I'll talk about the bike trails, as it was just mentioned. And for the benefit of Steve's grandchildren. The thing that we have right now, we're still dealing with the DEP about the environmental corrections that have to be made. If anybody walks along the trail, there's 4 monitoring wells in the town for groundwater, potential groundwater pollution correction. And so there's still some minor corrections that have to be made. And the trail being a hard surface trail for the most part will encapsulate most of the problems there. And so one more meeting and maybe we'll have a final price and answer for that. The other question that was brought up to me by people is the elevation of the rail trail as to the railroad itself. And the railroad trail height, or the height of the roadway for the rail trail, and the height of the biped trail will be exactly the same. As Dave knows, it's a no net fill, no fill period area, and so we have to maintain the exact level of it now. So some people, for flood concern and other things, wanted to know if we were going to change the height of it. The other thing is that the architects and engineers that are working on that project have noted to me that they hope that the people that are doing the sewage pipe work that have done some changes to that elevation, I'm sure they're going to correct it back to when they leave that project. When do you assume that sewage project will be over?
Sewer project will be done in another 6 weeks, where the only changes in elevation were designed and are part of a zero net fill calculation, so if there's.
Behind the borough wall is the one area that they're concerned with. And also by, they've got some fill by the firehouse at Jackson. Just, I believe it's temporary, and when they leave.
Well, is it a stockpile or the?
Stockpiling, I think.
Yeah, that won't be done.
Yeah. But behind the borough hall, there is a question about that elevation.
Back here.
Yeah, right behind us.
Under
But they do have, in fact, they mentioned to me that during their original surveys, they have the gradient elevation to the centimeter or whatever it is, so they know.
Well, give me a call and tell me exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
There are no changes to grade other than what was designed. There were a couple design changes, but we met the zero net fill. If we built something up, we took something else out.
Okay, very good. All right, I'm gonna just turn to, unless there's any other questions on the trail. Just turning, as the chairman of the Open Space Committee, I've got some good news to report. One is through Frank Pizzeri's diligence, the new Rossi has been completed. It's been presented to the town, signed by the planning board and the important parties here, and sent back to be finalized. But the work and the mapping and the cataloging of all the properties is completed, so that the Rossi is in essence done. The other thing that's positive is we've received a grant from New Jersey DEP and Green Acres for the Riverwalk Trail for almost, we had put in for $15,000 and we got nearly $12,000 for that. It's a multiple participation thing. We're going to, as you are talking about the budget, I'm going to give you copies of the grant proposal and what's required of us, so we would have to appropriate money for that before we could start on that. But it was a very competitive bid, and we were in competition with many municipalities in the state, and we virtually got everything we asked for, so it was a very good process. And we'll have to work forward with that with the town. And I'm very unhappy that the Boy Scouts all left, because one of the things that when we did the grant, we showed that we're going to use volunteerism as a big portion of doing the work, and I was really going to try and grab them for that. But anyway, that is a good positive thing. And basically that's the end of my report, unless you have any questions.
What kind of volunteerism, Joe?
Well, we're going to be putting up signage and benches, picnic tables and benches, and to actually do the labor, we stated that we would use volunteers for that. And it's not there isn't a lot of things that we're going to do. It isn't a major project, but we do as a requirement of our application have to use volunteers as a portion of the labor.
Okay.
I'm sure the Boy Scouts would be more than well.
Yeah, but and it's not limited to, as I said earlier, the usual suspects. It's going to be something that's going to benefit the entire town, and I'd love to get more town participation than the Boy Scouts and the Boys and Girls Club and etc. Actually, adults could help out too. Whatever. Anyway, and I'm going to ask your cooperation in trying to put out the word for volunteers for the project. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Louise?
Thank you.
Louise Marchese of 16 Roland Road, recording secretary for EDC. The Economic Committee met right here in this room on January the 27th. At that time, there was a presentation done by Crestwood Consultants, and the presentation was the results of the shopper survey that we recently conducted. I'm not going to go into detail of the outcome of that survey because they're going to come here themselves and show you the survey, so there's no sense in me going through it. But just to briefly say, the survey itself went to residents along with business owners, along with landlords. And it will also be presented to the chamber along with the planning board. That's something else they mentioned. Some things that we've put together that we discussed afterwards as a committee is possibly in sometime in the future, like just to bring things together. I know the Run for Marge is conducted the same day that we have the street fair. There was some discussion of maybe if we could have it around the same location where it would bring people back to the street fair area. That's just something that was discussed. Also, something that we discussed was that we mirrored the bid program that currently goes on in Pompton Lakes, possibly through grants. Another suggestion that came, again, from within the committee is possibly sometime going forward, the town would consider 3-story buildings. This in itself could encourage developers to come into town. The other thing that the committee has stated that they would like to see is as much support as we can get from all of you for the property tax rewards program. The next EDC meeting is February the 24th And this Thursday is the flood committee's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other volunteers? Okay. We'll move into public comment. The next item on the agenda, public comment. Public comment period is limited to a total of 30 minutes. Additional period for comment will be reserved later in the meeting. Individuals requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please come forward and wait to be recognized. Come forward to the microphone. Provide your name and address for the record. Anybody? Yes, over here.
Good evening. My name is Robin Mulvey, and I live at 8 Jefferson Street. I came tonight to talk about the skateboard issue that is going on, and the first that I heard about it was in the newspaper. So I wrote something down so that I didn't forget what I wanted to say, and it's unfortunate that the mayor's not here because I live in the house that his family lived in many, many years ago. I've been reading about the skateboard park that you're considering for this township. And once again, Jefferson Street is becoming the dumping ground for yet another park. We have 3 baseball fields, all of which take up parking not just for the spring, but also for the fall. We not only have parking on Jefferson Street, but we also have it on Adams Street and New Street. And the reason why I know that is because I live on the corner of Jefferson and New Street. Now you want to bring another park and more traffic, more parking, and even the riffraff that comes with such a park. The town wouldn't approve the park behind the police department, according to the news article. Understandably, that is, there were an emergency. The first aid squad couldn't get their vehicles out. But for the first aid squad to say that the noise was an issue to their classes was laughable. How often does a part-time squad teach? We have noise, pinging bats, people cheering for their kids, up to 10 p.m. during the baseball season. That often enough, I have to close my windows so that I can hear my TV at night. Now we have to have skateboards. I've been told by a good resource that we get out-of-towners who come to use our basketball courts behind the police department. What will be done if this park goes through? Will you park passes like PV Park so it's residents only? And who will be checking to see if that's being followed? Are we going to hire someone to sit and allow those skateboards in? Does that mean my taxes will be paying for someone to sit whatever hours you make for this park? And what would those hours be? The same as the baseball fields? It's not just a skateboard park, it's much, much more. The ironic part is that PV Park is not a good choice because it's a flooding area. Well, if you've looked at your maps lately of your town, Jefferson Street and that area is a flood zone. I pay flood insurance. So we are in an area that, and I come from the beginning of the North Pompton Turnpike to the railroad tracks, and we've been told that we can't get sewers there because of flooding issues and other issues. I think that sewers are a little more important than a skateboard park. The liability that comes with that skateboard park. I'm assuming that our taxes are going to pay for that as well. I don't have children that use skateboards, although I'm sure Parks and Recreation can give you a long list of people who say that they do. Perhaps they should give up part of the Boys and Girls Club for this so-needed park. Or perhaps go to the industrial area on West End and look into there if there's such a necessity, because there is a park there. If they don't mind a flood zone, how about going down along the river where the houses were leveled and just use that, because it is a flood zone. The council, I feel right now, isn't for the people on Jefferson Street, and it's certainly not for how I feel being represented. This town has more serious issues to deal with other than a skateboard park. And I thank you very much for your time for listening to me.
Yes?
Jonathan Kennedy, 117 Greenwood. I was pretty surprised that the skateboard park was going to be put by Washington Park, especially that it's a flood zone. You know, I feel like there's bits and pieces of flood zone being taken up all over the place. And to have that amount of concrete take up floodplain is just astounding that even the council would consider it. Greenwood Ave was pretty badly flooded. Rich, you were there, you saw. I don't understand why there's not any type of restriction for the public to build on this area as there is for the residents. I mean, we can't go out more than, I think it's like 1/20th of our footprint. And yet, you're gonna build this park there. And let me tell you right from the beginning, I am very much in favor of the park. I think it's something that there's a whole group of kids in town that's what they love to do. They don't want to do anything else. And that they need a place to be. But why wasn't like Greenview Park considered, or Foothills, or all these other parks that have so much more land? You were right, the traffic is horrendous during baseball season. And even though you widen the street, Jefferson Street, it's still a tremendous amount of cars and people in that little tiny area. I just don't think this is a good place for it at all. That's just my opinion, and there it is.
Thank you.
Louise?
Louise Marchese of 16 Roland Road. I know I've told this story before, but I'm going to say it again. We've come a long way in 30 years, because when I stood up here 30 years ago and said, hey, council, how about a skateboard park? My son loves to skateboard. I was laughed back to my seat. So luckily, we've come a long way. As far as it being Washington Park, I don't know. I wouldn't even take a guess at what would be the proper place in town. But I'm in favor and always will be in favor of having activities for kids. We can't do enough to keep them off the streets. We can't do enough. And the one concern that I do have is we have a skateboard park. We're going to be a real attractive town. And that's something that we really have to talk about, how we're going to handle out-of-towners coming here. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of comments I'd like to make.
Go ahead.
Sitting on the skateboard committee as liaison, we talked about a couple of spots, and my first pick was not Washington Park. In fact, it was PV Park, and now I'm hearing that in Washington Park, that's also a flood zone. So now I'm a little confused on exactly what's going on. Is that a flood zone there or not?
All right, and you know, we did talk about flooding a little bit as part of the skate park committee, which I was involved with.
Right.
But yes, both Washington and PV are within the 100-year floodplain. They both are.
The excuse
And
I heard was we can't put it in PV Park because it's a flood zone.
Okay, I'm not sure who provided that.
It was
And
right up
Rick,
here.
it's more from the flooding than
There are two different factors that impact a flood zone in terms of development. Impervious cover, which I think was mentioned, and zero net fill, and they're two different components. The impervious cover has to do with the ability of the ground to absorb water as precipitation falls. Impervious cover is a problem anywhere within the river basin. It doesn't have to be in the floodplain. Anywhere water falls, you want the water to be retained in the same general area where it is falling. So the current stormwater regulations require that any new development retain the first 1 inch of water on site, so that anything we build, whether it be a house or a commercial building or a park, has to retain that water up to 1 inch of rain before it moves off of that site. So that requires drainage, sometimes it requires retention basins. We already went through that with Washington Park. We had to create the correct amount of drainage when we put the new parking lot in. So that's already designed in Washington Park for the impervious cover. So that was never brought to me as a potential issue, and I think it's something that we could have worked through. There's permitting, there's design requirements. It's not impossible to build impervious cover. You just have to design it correctly. The zero net fill component is only a floodplain issue. That has to deal with the ability of, as water rises out of the river, if you put a solid object in its way, it's gonna go further away from the river. You're increasing the amount of area that's being flooded if you put solid objects within the floodplain. So the zero net fill requirement means if you're adding 20 cubic yards of something, a building, a structure, whatever, you have to remove 20 cubic yards. So there are two different requirements. One is the entire river basin, one is the floodplain. But they can both be managed through design and permitting. Neither one is an impossible issue to deal with.
There's a gentleman in the backfield there that
Frank?
wants to make a comment. What's your name?
Frank Spizzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue. Actually, you were talking about Ryan Hurd said that it was a flood area in PV Park, and that wasn't the only reason that,
But that's what
That
we're
was
saying
taken.
up here, right?
yeah, I'm just, where they wanted it, there wasn't facilities, the Parks and Rec didn't want them to use the facilities at PV Park because it was locked, nobody would be there.
Yeah, but
And-
that's not what was said. That was said, there was a flood zone. That's what was said up here.
I understand,
Okay, so I'm just repeating what was said.
but that was additive to
Okay.
why he said the flood zone.
Many factors involved. You know, for the public, this is a planning stage. It's a location that was favored by Parks and Rec, but there's a lot of design and planning that goes into this, so there is more to come.
Tom Andrea, 6 Elm Road, Chair, Parks and Rec Advisory Board. The input that was given to us by a former chair of the flood committee was that PV Park was out because of those kind of issues. So when we heard that, it eliminated all of our other concerns, such as, you know, putting it inside the fence at PV Park, having to take down the trees at PV Park, things like that, and all that the facility at PV Park is only open during the swim season, and skateboarders will be using it outside the swim season, so that had issues there too. But the big showstopper for the PV Park area, when we heard the flood concerns there, and we were told that it wasn't, you know, as doable there as it was at Washington Park.
Okay, but you know, as sitting on that committee with me, that I wanted it in PV Park.
Yes.
I would rather have seen it in PV Park. However, the Parks and Rec recommendation is Washington Park. And we as
Because-
a council will have to make that decision, ultimate decision, I guess.
Absolutely. But, you know, it was the input we received at that meeting
Right. but
that changed that
you
direction.
understand what I'm saying?
I definitely understand what you're
They came up
saying.
with a flood zone, and then I hear it's in a flood zone in the other.
Right.
So
right.
theoretically, it could have been built in.
There's
PV Park.
different levels of flood zone too. That's the whole issue.
Let me
PV
tell you something,
Park,
if your house gets flooded, it doesn't matter what deliver is.
that's definitely true. But if you're gonna put a big impervious area inside a flood zone, you don't wanna make sure you're not putting it in the most sensitive area. You know, I think even in that Washington Park area, there's a small amount in there that it's really wetlands.
Right.
And that we have to really stay away from, and we can do that, because with the skateboard park, you could be fairly flexible. But if we have those same kind of issues at PV Park, or worse, you know, that's how we felt that was the showstopper for PV Park.
Okay, and
You know,
again,
and that's why I didn't go into all the other reasons we talked about, because,
not a problem, but it
just so you know.
okay, as the mayor indicated here, it's a long process, so.
Yes.
And we as a council will make sure we make the right decision in the end.
There'll be some more fact finding.
Yes, excellent,
We have recommendations and we'll go from there.
excellent, thank you, Paul.
Fellow in the back there, Mike.
Fellow, wow. Oh, great.
Mike Fortuna, 16 Roland Road. I'm for the skate park, but it's bad enough we have to worry about greedy builders building in the flood zone that I hate hearing that Parks and Rec has recommended to build in the flood zone. And especially if there's a flood committee member on it, it's just not right. We gotta do stuff to prevent flooding, not add to it. Thank you.
The fellow in the back. Galliano.
My name is Jordan Galliano. I live on Tempeck Avenue. I'm part of the skate park committee. Of course, there are some very obvious points brought about regarding flooding and everything like that. In regards to the flooding, the skate park can be designed around the floodplain area. We understand that there was a little survey map that we had, and there was a little wetlands area, a little piece of water right there. So we can actually design the skate park around that so it doesn't impede with any type of drainage. And like Mr. Holbrook said, you can drain any type of the water out using any type of corrugated pipe to drain the water out into, say, the drainage area within the parking lot. Again, with the landscaping that Steve mentioned, when you create an environment like that, of course, with concrete and everything, the water is going to tend to run off. So when you incorporate landscaping to it, when you plant any type of grasses, trees, shrubs, anything like that, the roots act as a natural barrier to keep the soil in place. So that will help with the flow of water and keep the soil within the area contained and allow for better drainage and less flooding, and actually help park as well. So
You did not walk around there during the floods, did you?
I did.
Okay.
Yes,
So
I did with my mother.
down there.
Yes, yeah. But also, again, in regards with the PV Park area, when Stephen and I and many other members were at the meeting on Monday, they said that PV Park was more prone to flooding than Washington Park. So that's why they scrapped it, was because that was more prone to getting more water in that area, because that's where the water.
Totally inundated.
Yeah, yeah. So that was just one point, and they just suggested that Washington Park would get a little less flooding.
And the floodplain and the wetlands are two separate
Yes,
issues.
exactly. Two separate issues. Like you said, there's different levels within floodplains and flood zone area. So I just wanted to mention that.
Flood is a flood is a flood.
Yeah,
Trust
flood
me.
is, yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Especially when it's your house.
Yes.
Donna Satani, 117 Greenwood. I haven't heard anybody mention any other locations, like Greenview Park. There is so much land there.
It was done, it was discussed at the committee meeting that we had. We had input from people who came to those meetings. Greenview was discussed, Mountain View was discussed, everywhere was discussed. And ultimately, it came down to, there was a Boys and Girls Club which fell through, PV Park and Washington Park. So those were the final three, then it was down to two, and then it went in front of the Parks and Rec, who came back with their recommendation. Now the council has to take it from there. It's a recommendation to us, and I'm sure we'll make the right decision.
We're hearing concerns and we will.
Remember, it's a
we'll
flood
take that
zone.
into consideration.
I don't want to float out of there again.
Donna, I don't want to see you flood out of there ever again.
What was the I was gonna say, what was the reason for Boys and Girls Club not being considered, just because
No,
they?
it was considered, they were gonna donate some land, and then that fell through, so
Oh.
that's why that didn't pan out. So-
Yes.
This gentleman had his hand up. You want to let him do his address first?
Aaron Mayer, I live on 27 Sherman Ave. So with Washington Park, like Jordan said, the skate park, since it's cement, it can be built around things, and like you can have things like plants and things with like the roots are like a sponge kind of, which flooding would, if it's bad, would probably still happen, but it definitely helps it a lot. And the thing with traffic, most kids that are going to be going to the skate park are going to be skateboarding there. So it doesn't really cause any car traffic.
What about the kids from out of town?
Yeah, that's true, but I think that for the majority, or like even like kids getting dropped off, because like, so there's, as you've probably heard, Solid Foundation, and we know, like, I personally know like a lot of kids there. I skate with them. They would probably all get dropped off at a certain point, and then we would all skate there. But you know, there will still be traffic, but it's definitely a lot of kids are going to be getting there on their skateboard. Also, I think it is pretty important that we like try our hardest to definitely get it, because I I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but me and my friends do get like kicked out of places very often for skateboarding, and people get frustrated, and it's understandable that they get frustrated. It's just like we really have nowhere to go, so I do think that it would be important to get a skate park somewhere. And also, being that there's the baseball fields there, there's a lot of people that, go there, like people, let's say in my grade, like guys in my grade are really good at baseball, and a lot of people have younger siblings. So seeing younger siblings seeing skateboarding is definitely gonna like inspire. That's how I started skateboarding. I saw older kids skateboarding when I was younger. So I think that would definitely keep like the legacy of the park going. And I think that just overall, like, there are definitely cons to the location of Washington, but I think that's, if we're gonna get a park, I think that's our best bet. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Robin Mulvey, Jefferson Street. I would just like to ask that if there are things that are going to be done or decided, that we receive on the street of Jefferson Street some type of notification that will let us know what decisions are being made. I think it's only fair that we kind of understand the direction that that you will be going with your decisions, so that we don't get last minute, the information and kind of blindsided. So that if we have if we get a carnival next door at the church, I get a letter saying there's going to be a carnival, and if you have any gripes about it, come to the meeting. So I would only ask that you give some kind of...
So my suggestion would be if you could email me your email address. I will give you the dates of the skateboard committee meeting, and you're welcome to come. They're usually on a Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning, but that's a great way to put your input into it. It's a great way for anybody on Jefferson or anywhere in the town to put their input into this, and we want your input, and I think it's important. And you can hear how we feel about it and so forth. So email me, and I'll make sure you're aware.
If I can just add, the process that the committee's gone through, and a couple times I think they thought that we were being, asking a lot of them, but part of the process that we asked the committee to go through in terms of selecting a location, in terms of looking at a lot of different options and coming up with pros and cons and identifying the features in terms of access to facilities and how close they are to things. They've spent months going through that process at our request. And part of the reason we asked them to go to the Recreation Advisory Board and have that input and had an article in the paper and then come to this body was to get the information out there so that people like yourself who have concerns have an opportunity to come before the bulldozer shows up and starts doing that.
Which I appreciate. Thank you.
Part of the process that we intended, and while we don't know who's going to come up and provide input and not, but I think everyone along the way, this has taken longer than I think they would have liked it to take.
It would have been built already.
Partly because we wanted to go through a full vetting process. So here we are.
Okay.
Trying to get that done.
Right. Don't forget to email me.
I will. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, but we're not getting into a defendant vote here.
Stephen Connolly, 44 Duncan. I just wanted to reiterate what Rich is saying, that the skateboard committee meetings are open to the public, and we really encourage everybody and anybody interested that wants to be involved to come out. Especially, if this is an issue with people in town, with a concern with the flood, concern about traffic. These are open to the public. I don't know, is there a way that we can be more public? We have a Facebook page. I don't know.
We've been in the paper a lot.
The paper,
Word
are
of mouth
really...
at this point is just
Yeah,
the best way.
so I invite
People find out.
the lady here to come out. And I just one quick thing about people coming from out of town. We have baseball games. We all know we have lots of people coming out of town. So
Public, or
yeah.
we do, in the process. So we haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying up front that we already have people coming from out of town, and it's something that actually this town could benefit from. So an issue of riffraff coming, it's surprising, but you know, we have games, we have running races, we have hoedowns, we have all these events, we have parks that are open to the public, you know.
I think the major concern was traffic, so.
Okay, well, yeah, Aaron addressed that, so that's all, thank you.
Good job. We'll cut it off at that point.
And I'll be very brief. It's all I want to do. I was privy to the Parks and Rec meeting, and with listening to the comments and Steve's presentation, citing the 3 sites that they would like to go to. And the only thing I want to talk about is that PV Park was considered, and the flood issue, I have to disagree with Tom a little bit. That was not the only, or in my opinion, the major issue. Both Denise, the Parks and Recreation Director, and other people mentioned 3 other things. One is that the facility is only open, the things that they're talking about, water fountains and bathrooms and so forth, are only open for a short period during the year, where the skate park would be a year-long situation. The other problems are the bathrooms. We have very high security in allowing people in and out of PV Park. With the skateboard people, how would they get into PV Park to use the bathrooms without badging, etc.? If it was inside the park, the same issue applies there. How could they get in the park to use the facilities? And as the young boy mentioned just 2 speakers ago, it's a magnet for young kids. Now, if we have the skateboard park across the road from PV Park, and what happens when a mother turns around and looks for a kid, where is he? And he's run out across the street to go watch the skateboarders. So there's a lot of other issues besides flooding that make PV Park a negative. And that's the only thing, I thought that was omitted by a lot of the comments that were made, and I just wanted to give the council that information and that input. That's it.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on with our agenda at this point. Next up is public hearings. There are none for this evening. And next for ordinance of introduction. Ms. Marks?
This is ordinance number 2016-02, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of property by donation from Geraldine B. Mines. And it's property known as Block 101, Lot 2.
Mrs. Mines, who I think you're all familiar with at this point, has donated a piece of property to us in the past off Down Avenue. This property is it's steep slope. It really has no potential use other than it adds to our collection of open space. We are looking at it, and I don't have a determination. It runs immediately adjacent to the Newark Aqueduct, and if we were to ever consider a connection for Cedar Crest with the Newark Aqueduct, it provides us a piece of property to perhaps be able to do that. But to visualize it, if you're coming off of or headed towards Cedar Crest around the jug handle, you're looking at a very steep slope, and that's really the piece of property.
That's where we did the presentation, did the speaking here. Remember,
Yes.
yes, that was the. We know where it is.
At the end of
It's all there.
Any
So-
comments from council?
None on that, no?
So I'll make a motion to introduce this ordinance.
I'll
Number 2016-02.
You second? I'll second. I don't know
Roll
if you
call.
second or we're looking for a second.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Ms. Winterfield?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes. Okay. The next ordinance, Ms. March?
This is ordinance number 2016-03, an ordinance amending Chapter 129, Parks and Recreation of the Code of the Township of Pequannock, and revising group user fees for Pequannock Valley Park Swim Facility.
Did we skip down on this, or what did we do? It's
No,
item
no.
for discussion.
Well, we're gonna
Oh, it's-
discuss the larger issue later. Right now, we're just dealing with the ordinance to change
Just the
group fees.
introduction.
May I just say that in this printed copy, there is a cut and paste error, and that is not, on page 2, it is not 2,650 people, it's 26-50, 26 to 50.
Dave, you want to explain, or?
Yeah, the only change to the ordinance that we're looking at this point is the item number 6, the PV Park Swimming Facility group user fees. We haven't addressed the group rates in quite some time. We don't get a lot of groups, but over the course of the season, we do get them a couple times. We believe that these amounts are slightly more in line with the amount of resources that they take up for us to set up and police some of these groups and make sure that they're cleaning up their garbage and so forth. They're still not super high, but we think they're a little more reasonable than what they were. So that's the change to the ordinance for 2016.
Right, it was just down here where it's shaded, the 51 plus people, right down there? Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
So we'll put another ordinance for the actual fee.
But then the fees are in here.
Well, this is the whole ordinance.
Okay.
And the discussion item that I asked to be put on is we haven't addressed PV Park rates in general in quite a long time. We backed off on that a number of years ago. We actually did a small decrease in one of the rates at one point. When we were trying to deal with water quality issues and declining membership, we stopped raising rates. And the basic family membership rate hasn't been increased in 13 years. Well, there's been 2 increases in minimum wage since then, and our costs are going up. So the discussion item is to kind of start thinking, not for 2016, but in the future,
Right.
to start increasing those rates at a small incremental rate over the next couple of years, so that we can generate a little more revenue, because we've been really tight the last couple of years. For by and large, and we're jumping ahead to discussion, may as well have it.
That's all right, yeah.
Sorry about that, Dave.
No, that's fine. By and large, the water quality issues are, I hate to say it.
But as long as they remain that way, yeah.
We haven't had an issue. We're doing a lot of different things that all seem to have played a role in making things better. Our overall memberships went up last year for the first time in many years. So I think we're on the right track, and I don't want to say that after 1 year, which is why we're kind of recommending let's see what happens. But by the time, we start on January 1st as a new year in any given year, and by the time we get an ordinance in place and adopted, it's past the time that we need to be advertising for PV Park. So that's why, in talking about this with Recreation, said let's start talking about 2017 and beyond now, and maybe over the course of a couple of years, if we just bump those basic rates, $10 1 year and then maybe another $10 2 years later, that'll provide some, improved revenue stream for us at a time when we haven't done that in 13 years.
So as long as things continue to improve, I don't see any problem with that. Right?
We have a good year this year.
Have a good year this year.
So what we would be looking to do is make that ordinance modification effective for 2017 this year.
Right, well, in the fall, after we go through the season.
So we can do that, that's
Right, that's only fair, I think that.
Get through the season, if we're good, then we can.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
Any questions on the group rates?
Let's see. We changed it. That was just added, or it changed about?
No, it's a modification to the fee.
So what was it
for the
before?
group rates.
Not that many people use the group rates.
Right, yeah, I just wondered what the big change was, okay.
It increased, it added a tier
Okay,
of above
so we did add a
51
tier.
people, yes.
Okay. Yeah, no questions, that's fine.
We no longer include a cabana employee.
No more cabana boy, no.
Wow.
Didn't work out.
Once.
Everyone good? Okay.
So I'll make that motion.
Right, I'm glad we're doing this early, that's why it's in place.
We don't have to talk about it.
Anyone who uses group rates can adjust their rates accordingly.
Right.
So,
Rich made
Sorry
a
about
motion.
that, Jay.
go ahead.
Rich made a motion.
I'll second.
Sorry.
You made,
I made the motion, I second.
roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Phelan,
Yes.
Ms. Winterfield,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff.
Yes. Resolutions for approval, Ms. Moore.
Beginning with Resolution 2016-55, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations. Resolution 2016-56, authorizing the tax collector to cancel tax sale certificate number 2012-003. 2016-57, authorizing discharge of an affordable housing program mortgage with Maria Afonso. 2016-58, authorizing discharge of an affordable housing program mortgage for Jesse Whitney. 2016-59, authorizing acceptance of a hold harmless agreement from Alfonso and Anne-Marie Chiampa. 2016-60, authorizing the acceptance of a hold harmless agreement from Ari and Florence Van Voot. 2016-61, appointing liaison members of the Open Space Advisory Committee. And 2016-62, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the February 5th, 2016 bill list.
Kathy, any questions?
No questions.
Melissa?
Nope.
Rich?
Believe it or not, no.
Okay. I have no questions. Roll call?
No, wait, I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion. Okay.
Make a
I know
motion.
what time it is.
A little out of
Oh,
practice.
go ahead.
I'll
Someone
make
make the motion.
I'll make a
I'll
motion
second.
to approve
Okay.
To approve
resolution
it.
2016-55 through 2016-62.
Second.
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch.
Yes.
Mr. Phelan.
Yes.
Ms. Winterfield.
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff.
Yes. Items for discussion. DB Park Woodland Lake fees.
Already did.
I think we took care of that. Okay, reports and notices.
Groundhog Day.
There are none. Manager report.
I think people took all my items already. Yeah, thank you. An updated project status report is attached. 2016 budget binders have been distributed. They're in your boxes if you haven't seen them yet. Budget workshop sessions begin this Thursday. We were already told by one of our volunteers, the township has received a recreational trails grant award for the development of the Riverwalk. The grant is for $11,800 and will fund trailblazing, mapping, informational kiosks, and benches. We actually received the full amount of the grant that we requested, which was $15,000. It has a match component, which Joe alluded to. The match or in-kind match can be either volunteer hours or DPW, recreation staff, whatever. But that's the way we had laid the grant out, so we essentially got the full amount of the grant that we requested. The bid opening for Sunset Road improvements will be this Thursday with the anticipated bid award in March. Once we have bids, we'll know whether additional funding will be required, which will assist in firming up the 2016 capital budget.
We already put some of the money aside for that?
We already have most of the money. We've got 2 different grants and we put money aside last year. If, depending on how the bids come in, we may need to appropriate a small additional amount or perhaps not.
Is that on the list? Yes.
It was.
On the list. Any questions for the manager? No?
Nope.
Okay. Council reports. Kathy?
Yes. We had our historic commission meeting and a couple items came up. One of the items was the Henning property that we just are acquiring. I don't know if it's procedure or process or whatever. They asked that, I guess any home or structure more than 50 years old that they get to look inside and take pictures for documentation.
Once we own it.
Yeah, but they want to make sure that they don't get, left out and all of a sudden it's gone. And they didn't get to do whatever they do. There's a list or something, isn't there something?
Well, it's usually
I
more
think
prestigious, not prestigious.
I know, but they asked and they wanted to make sure they're not forgotten.
That's fine. At some point, I think we need to reword the 50-year. I mean, technically, they should have accessed all of the flood homes I mean, there aren't too many homes in this community that aren't more than 50
Yeah.
years old.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily make
Well,
them
do you want to
historic.
open up that conversation, or
My
do you want them
mother's
to come with something more
No.
reasonable, or, but they do want to look at
No,
this.
for the Henning house, and
I already have a lot of community.
it's an interesting house
Right.
inside. It hasn't changed much.
They want,
That's
well, they
fine.
want to take pictures, they want to be able to document them for the future, you know, they're
And-
historic people.
Sure.
You know.
As soon as we have access to it, who should I be contacting to make?
I guess listeners. Oh,
Dave?
yeah, yeah, he would be good. And then also a really great thing, George Janowitz on the committee is working with the Morris County Tourism Bureau to have Pequannock actually be part of their website. They're a nonprofit. I guess the county must support them or hire them. I'm not quite sure how that works, Dave. But they promote tourism in Morris County, and they do a really good job. But when you click on Pequannock on their site, it's just a little blue sign that says we were found or whatever. So they're working on it. George is the lead on that from the commission, on giving them all kinds of things about Pequannock, you know, the train station, and as we move forward with the Martin Berry House and things like that, so that, you know, they can help as revenue generators. And Louise also, the economic development people may want to hook up with Morris County Tourism Bureau, because they have lists on there of restaurants and things like that. So if someone's coming to this area to visit, and if they come somewhere and they want to go visit something and want to have dinner, because it has hotels, it has dinner, it has historic sites, it's a great outfit. I did go to one of their meetings at the Arboretum, you know, Fremont has an Arboretum, and they're a really professional outfit. So you might want to look at Morris County Tourism Bureau website. I know we're hooking up with them, with the Historic Commission. Ed Engelbart was appointed as for a new term for the Morris County Historic Preservation Board, so congratulations to Ed, our historian. And I just have a question, Dave, is there any update on the presentation and the preservation group from?
They were surprised it wasn't tonight.
We'll have the final report shortly.
We'll get to read it then before they come, so that we can have questions, or are we just gonna come?
No, you'll
You'll have a chance to read it. Okay, good. All right, that's it, thanks.
I think on the museum tour, they incorporated all the restaurants. Probably the same group was involved in that.
Right,
Because remember, they had a lot of things you could do while on the tour.
while you're on the
While
tour,
you're in
right?
town,
Right.
go see this or that one.
Yeah, they're really, really good. And some towns are better than others, so I guess it's a matter of if you cooperate with them and feed them information. So.
Very good. Listen.
I really don't have anything, just announcements on upcoming meetings. The Environmental Commission meets tomorrow at 7:30, and the Flood Committee is meeting this Thursday at 7:30. And the Library Board meeting is next Wednesday. That's all I got.
The planning board did not meet last Monday. They are not meeting next Monday either because it's a holiday. So I guess the next meeting we'll have is in first something like that. First Day Squad had their meeting last night. Again, they're looking forward to a brand new ambulance in 2016. That's what you're willing, right? That was their comments to me. And that's all I have.
And I have nothing, so.
Okay.
Only comment. All hands.
Good evening, Council. Sharon Taylor, 19 Libby Avenue, Pompton Plains section of Pequannock Township. Deputy Mayor, are you a mayor today? There's a lot of mayor roles. Everything's changing here.
And I forgot to make an announcement that Dave Cole's very remiss about not being able here, but he's right under the weather at the moment.
Oh, hope he feels better, right? I was really surprised by some of the comments tonight. I'll be really quick, and I know everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I just want to make it clear that I don't think it's right for anybody to come in here and talk about Washington Park being a dumping ground or using the terms riffraff for kids that want to make something better in their life. They're only asking for 4,500 to 6,000 square foot to put a skate park with landscape around it. And I remember a few months ago, you had a room full of kids here that came here asking. And 10 years ago, it's the third time that they've asked. And I don't have kids. But I will never turn my back on anybody that's gonna ask for something like that. And to use the term riffraff and that they're gonna cause trouble and out-of-towners, I mean, it is just not the way that I would see Pequannock Township. And it's certainly not the way that I would wanna see, you know, when you have a room full of kids that are interested in this sport, and it's not just young kids, there's teens, young adults, and even adults, that we're gonna turn around and say no, or it's like we're fighting for one, you know, for one area over another. So I just wanna make it clear that, you know, and I hope the council doesn't feel that these kids are not riffraff. They're human beings, and they deserve every piece of land and every chance to make something happen and do something good for this township. So I just hope that you consider that comment. Because I think a lot of them are bright and talented. They're very well educated. You don't see this room full of kids right now because they're probably home studying, so they get A's on their test tomorrow, right? If they were my children, they'd be studying right now. But I just want to make it clear because I hear some of that negativity. Riffraff, they're going to cause trouble, they're going to get hurt. It's all of this negativity before it's even happened.
Sharon,
you know?
You've been coming to meetings for quite some time.
I know, I'm a
I've been
silent
doing
member
this
of that,
for
yeah.
5 years
I'm not
now.
even there, I'm a silent member that's appearing
Right.
there.
I've been doing this for 5 years now. We always hear stuff like that, unfortunately.
Mhm.
There's nothing that, you know, we can do about it other than say, you know, we know that's not right for somebody to make that comment.
Mhm.
Okay, so, you know, we know what's right, we know what's
No, I know, and I respect everybody's opinion. I respect her opinion too, but I don't even think Washington Park would be considered a dumping ground. I thought that was a great location, actually. And I don't see when they say it's a flood zone, it's not, the whole area is not gonna be, and that's why I'm glad that you did invite them to the meetings, because if they looked at the drawings, there's nothing there that's gonna take up all of that land and be just concrete.
We don't want to do anything in
You know, so I just want to make that clear because I just would never want to turn my back on kids. And I could tell you the past few months you've seen kids with heroin problems, drug problems, they're killing themselves, they're getting in car accidents. And a lot of that results too probably because when they were younger they had no outlet to go to. And I'm just trying to help this township and help those kids avoid that. And I think it doesn't matter whatever sport you're on, there's drugs that go everywhere in this township. And when they talk about out-of-towners, everything filters in every single town, so you're not going to stop that. So I just want to make that clear. And then also I just want to know for the budget meeting, where is it? Is it going to be in here or in that other room? And it's like 6 o'clock sharp?
6:30.
6:30, okay. And
We
then
hope
are
you
we
come.
doing a farmer, huh?
We hope you come.
I'm going to come. Yeah, I made sure my calendar was open. Last year was hard for me.
6:30.
6:30. Are we doing a farmer's market this year, or we're just gonna take that out?
Well, we didn't do the farmer's market last year.
I know.
We,
So it's out. That's
yeah,
okay.
we don't really have any plans to. The one that's currently being done, you know, draws a local crowd. And
Do you think we could do that for the street fair? Is that gonna be open for one day, you think, there, or no?
Street fair is not our
Oh, that's right, that's the
chamber.
Chamber of Commerce.
and they
I
really,
wonder if we could do it once this year, just to promote the restaurants and all of the local businesses in town. You know, just once.
I'm not going to say no, but what I know about the groups that manage farmer markets, because I mean they're pretty well organized. They want a location that they could go to regularly. They're not looking to do one-time, events.
Okay. And I think that's it.
all right.
Okay, thanks. Have a good
Just
night.
for your own information, Washington Park has been a controversial site
I know.
in general for
I
the
know.
last 25 years.
It's the old not.
But I don't like the word dumping ground. I really don't, because we put a lot of, I mean, I'm telling you, like, I have nothing. Let me tell you, one day I walk out of here, I had nothing. I put a lot of money into this township. So when I hear people, I pay just as much as everybody. And I don't like to hear the word dumping ground. I think it's beautiful. And I think it's great that you're building it up. I mean, I don't see where taking 4,500 square foot is going to really make a big difference. I mean, if it was my personal opinion, I would stay back there, but I'm respecting the council, you know? So we, as a team, every Saturday, right? We come here and we even drove to locations. We're, trying to be creative, and I'm only going to those meetings just to help out, to show that I care, and I hope something really good turns out of it. So, but I don't think Washington Park is a dumping ground. And I think you guys are doing a good job building it up. I saw the map of what you guys want to do with it. So I just hope something good happens here. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank?
Frank Spizzirri, 35 West Franklin Avenue. Just one question on the open space liaisons. Has there been any change, or are we going to keep the same ones that we have? Because I didn't see the information as to, you passed a resolution for,
He didn't see who they were. He didn't see the details.
It's done in the resolution.
is it in the book over here? I can check that after.
It's in the
Okay.
resolution.
It's in the resolution. so-
All right. The other thing is, Kathy, you were talking about pictures of the Henny House.
Yes.
I just gave, actually, to Diane, I have all the pictures of all the houses that we tore down, starting from the first one to the last one. So if the Historic Committee wants those, I can make a copy of them, and
Or do you have them like on a?
I'll put them on.
flash drive
I'll
or
put them on a
anything?
CD for them.
I have, I could,
Yeah.
What Dave has, man.
Too, they have their TV there, they like.
So from the 30s.
Yeah, because what the Historic Commission is doing they always have the Pathways Tour in the fall, and their theme this year is going to be images of Pequannock. So they're trying to collect, and that's going to be their theme for this fall. So they would like them, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. If Dave can't do it, I can get him a copy. All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Any other comments? Mike, closing comment? No? 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 Okay.
So, Jay, I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Do we have closed session?
We did.
Yeah. I'll second it.
All in favor?
All in
Aye.
favor?
Okay, meeting over. Oh.
Those skateboards.
That's it.
It is not over.